Hey, Spurs fans, welcome back to the Irish Hotspur. Jack here to provide you your predicted lineup with our London Derby match against Chelsea. This is the lineup that I think Thomas Frank will go for. It's not what I think he should be going for, so that's always something I have to bring up straight away. Do smash the like button for me, please. And this is coming off the back of our Newcastle game and cup exit, where I think there was definitely some heated debate amongst Spurs fans about whether Thomas Frank should have gone with a slightly stronger lineup. It seemed like he was prioritizing this Chelsea game, considering maybe we are third in the league. And also, as well, it's just one of those cups that it seems like managers do look to rotate in and see if they can get away with it. But if Thomas Frank is to get a win against Chelsea tomorrow, he'd be the first manager in a while to pick up any sort of result against Chelsea. And I think that would definitely lift the mood of the Spurs fan base. Let's see if he can lift yet again another curse. But we're going to go with Vicario in goals here. With Vicario, I think he actually is ranking among some of the best of goalkeepers in the Premier League at the minute when it comes to post shot expected goals. I believe it's called minus goals allowed in the Premier League. I think he's up there with Dean Henderson as well as the Sunderland goalkeeper in terms of preventing goals that the XG algorithm would have thought would have gone in. So far, Vic is having actually once again a very good Premier League season, at least when it comes to that metric. And I think that's one of the more important stats out there. And if you can cast your minds back to that crazy game with Ange Postecoglou's first time against Chelsea at home, where we were on an unbelievable winning streak, but then we had that crazy fallout there. That was one of the best goalkeeping performances I've ever seen from any Spurs goalkeeper. Vicario was making all those one-on-one saves. He was just doing it all, really. One of the best goalkeeping performances I've seen. Let's hope he's not that busy when it comes to this game under Thomas Frank. As much as that was an amazing performance, I hope he doesn't have to be that busy as he was under Ange. But let's move it over to fullback. I've gone for Pedro Porro. I think he should be keeping a spot for this game. By the way, he has some of the most minutes of any player in the Spurs squad. In fact, he has the most, even more minutes than Vicario, and that's in all competitions as well. He'll likely come up against Alejandro Garnacho, a player that nobody really seems to like in the Premier League, universally hated, it feels like. And I think they've had a history with each other where I believe he came up against Garnacho in maybe the latter stages of the Europa League final. He came on and he was causing Pedro some problems. Granted, we were very tired in that game. We were holding on, and Garnacho is coming on with fresh legs. But these guys do have a history with each other. So we'll see how Garnacho fares against Pedro Porro. We'll have to lock in defensively against him. I do think he is a bit of a tricky winger. And so we'll see how Pedro can handle him. And also, if we have Kudus starting in this game, hopefully Kudus can offer him that extra bit of support as the winger to drop back and help out his fullback, let's say more than I think Brennan Johnson tends to do. And also, we'll need Pedro Porro if Chelsea do decide to press us high. I think he's one of our best players at playing out from the back when we are being put under pressure. And we'll need him for his set piece delivery because Van de Ven, with those two great goals against Everton, that second goal was definitely off of the back of an incredible cross and corner from Pedro Porro. So we'll see if he's on his game for this one. We're going to go over to Jed Spence as the left back for this game. This was probably the toughest of the calls I had to make, really, because Destiny Udogi is supposed to be available for this game. I just have this suspicion that he might go with Jed Spence because Udogi's injury history, at least of recent, has been very kind of touch and go. It feels like he's kind of picking up a lot of random sort of injuries. And I wonder if Thomas Frank might not throw him into it straight away, knowing that he has a very competent fullback in Jed Spence. And there isn't a dramatic drop off between the two players, really, maybe compared to the past, where it felt like as a manager, the moment you got one of your best players back, you just had to throw him straight in. But this is one of the tougher calls. So do let me know. Will he go with Destiny Udogi or will he go with Jed Spence? I'm just getting this suspicion that he might go with Jed here. And we only have three fullbacks, anyways, that are fully fit and available. Van de Ven has been pushed a lot, so I doubt that he would be playing out there. Maybe there's a chance of a back five for this game. He was asked about it, Thomas Frank, and he said that, yeah, it's a possibility. I just don't think he'll be doing it at home against Chelsea. If it maybe were away from home, I could see that as a possibility. But for some reason, I'm thinking he's going to stick with a back four for this game. But do let me know who he will be going with for the left back position. But let's move on over to right sided center back. And I've gone with Romero. I do think he'll rotate Romero back into the team just because he is our captain. He is a leader. He leads by example. He brings the intensity that's needed and required in games like this. And I think he's a guy that a lot of the players will sort of gain a bit of inspiration, gain a bit of enthusiasm when they see him come back into the team. And if we are, like I mentioned earlier with Pedro Porro, going to be pressed high by this Chelsea side, he is the best passing player out of the back in our whole squad. And he's also very good at starting attacks with some of the passes that he can make under pressure or when things are starting to get a bit stale. He can pick out passes that are through the midfield lines that all of a sudden create a really good moment for Spurs. So I think he's going to be absolutely crucial for this game if we do stand a chance of, for once, picking up a win against this Chelsea side. And we know he's a massive set piece threat for us, too. So I think Thomas Frank will risk getting Romero back into the team here. We are going to go for Mickey Van de Ven then at left sided center back. I think Mickey has arguably been our best player basically since Romero went out injured. I think he's really stepped up in that time period, both as a leader, but also just defensively. He's put in some incredible challenges. He's been very aggressive, more than usual. He's put in some amazing blocks, clearances. Obviously, he's been very good from set pieces and scoring goals for us as well. He's been great in possession. I have nothing but praise for Mickey Van de Ven in the last few weeks. So let's hope that he can continue that going into this game. We're going to move it on over to midfield. I think it's obvious here. It's going to be Joao Palhinha. Like Romero, Palhinha is sort of that guy that I think is crucial for setting the tone defensively. He's a guy that can bring the intensity to the game. He'll put in a monster challenge that will get everyone fired up, including the crowd, of course. And if Chelsea do start to put a bit of pressure on us at some stage, you imagine they will, maybe even from the get go. He's a guy that will make us just a bit more defensively secure, break up some of the attacks from Chelsea, be able to make a crucial interception or put in a crucial challenge that then can even lead to maybe a good transition or a good counterattack for us. So he's absolutely necessary and crucial for this game. And we all know as well, we have a few of these guys. He's also a decent set piece threat for us. Joao Palhinha has played a part, I feel like, in a lot of the good moments from our set pieces, with either winning the initial header or just sort of causing a bit of chaos in the box, which is how big and strong and powerful that he is. This is a selection that I know a lot of people might not like, but Bentancur, Palhinha seem to always be playing, and they seem to always be playing together. Thomas Frank has clearly loved combining these two players. I do feel like Bentancur has been scapegoated a little too much, and my theory behind it is that I think fans are maybe unwilling or too afraid to call out where I feel like the real area has been that's been our problem, which is the forwards and the creators that just aren't putting away chances or aren't putting away the moments in the final third that look like dangerous little moments and opportunities, but then just get wasted due to really just poor quality, but also maybe a lack of confidence from that forward line. And that pretty much just goes for everyone, not even singling anybody out. I think it's Johnson, Richarlison, Xavi Simmons, unfortunately, Matisse Tell, Wilson Odegaard. They've all been very wasteful, I think, with the chances that they've been given this season. But since that's so many players that you're calling out and it's such a large area of the pitch that you're calling out, it seems like it's more convenient for people to then scapegoat Bentancur for sideways passing, backwards passing. I feel like every midfield, should I say, sorry, need someone that is calm and composed on the ball, especially if you are a team like us that at times looks to be pragmatic, at times looks to sit back. You need a guy that can be really calm under pressure, someone that can sort of ease sort of a little bit of calm into the team that can take it under pressure, and have a good first touch. He's so good under pressure, I think, Bentancur, compared to others in that midfield. And I think he's just a lovely player to watch when he has a guy on him. It's just his decision making, his ability to shake sort of his defender when he's all over him. I think he's a guy that when you are maybe defending for a while, he's that person who can win the ball back for you. I think he's great, defensively at putting in challenges, but then he'll also sort of, let everybody relax for a second, get everybody a breather. And that's why sometimes I think he is opting for these sideways backward passes. Don't get me wrong. I feel like he can be more progressive with the ball. I've seen it in the past under Ange Postecoglou, how he can run the show as a deep lying midfielder in possession. I just wonder if Thomas Frank is instructing him to not take as many risks on the ball because he is that guy that can sort of rotate and recycle possession, let's say, just a bit better than others. And like Joao Polina, Bentancur is probably one of our best set piece threats, really. I think he'll be crucial for this game. He is also very good at just rising up and challenging for the initial headers, whether it's from a long throw or from a corner kick. I think Bentancur is crucial for this game, whether people like it or not. But let me know if you disagree, of course, in the comments. I think we're going to move on to our other midfielder. This one was also one of the tougher calls I had to make because I think it could easily be Xavi Simmons here. It could easily be Lucas Bergwall. And also, as well, we've seen Thomas Frank go with slightly different shapes and personnel really in these games where it's not really been the conventional 4-3-3. It's been little variation. So I find it hard to know what he's going to go with here. But this is what makes these predicted lineups so hard to do under Thomas Frank is that he is showing more shape and formation flexibility than let's say previous managers. I think Sar is a great choice for this game. He did start him in the last game. I just am not sure who he's going to go with. So I really would love a bit of help here. Sar, I think, is crucial for this game, though, in my opinion, because he'll help us in the pressing. He can break up play when they're putting in a pass into the midfield. He's a guy who can step onto it with those long legs and just that ability to cover ground that other people really can't. And he can win it up high up the pitch for us when we are looking to hopefully press high at some stage in this game. I think he's brilliant at causing turnovers deep in the opposition half. And he pops up with goals, he pops up with assists. I think he's a big game player. This is one of the biggest things I've said about Pop Matasar is that it seems like there's a lot of praise for Lucas Bergvall because he's so wonderful to watch and he's so talented for his age. But what I like about Pop Matasar just a bit more than Bergvall is that it does feel like he knows how to pop up with a goal or assist or play a big part in the goals that we end up scoring in these bigger games. And I think he's then crucial for a match like this against Chelsea and a bit like Bentancur, Palhinha, especially like Romero as well. I think he can set the tone defensively. He can bring that intensity to the game. He's not afraid of it putting in a harsh challenge. He's not afraid of the physical battle, which is why I would go for Pop Matasar. And I think he's looked fine playing in that midfield alongside Palhinha and Bentancur. We're going to move it over, though, to left wing. I think Xavi Simons is going to play this game. I'm just not sure where, really. He has been struggling lately. I think he's got a lot better, maybe as time has gone on. But it feels like he's just kind of shifting in and out of games. I think, he started off pretty, I think, kind of rough against Newcastle, but then he kind of grew into the game. Let's just say he looked nervous, I think, in possession in the early stages. But then I think he's had a problem as well of taking a bit too long sometimes to make a decision or taking too long to play the pass in behind when the opportunity might have been there. I think this is going to be a huge game for him to step up. And I feel like if he does play well, it could sort of allow Spurs to not be so Mohamed Kudus focused. I think part of the issue with Kudus recently is that teams kind of look at him as the only guy that can really create in this team. When we do have Xavi Simons on the pitch, if Xavi Simons were to offer a bit more of a threat and were to look more dangerous in possession, I think that would actually free up Mohamed Kudus to be able to get more scoring opportunities and not have to feel like he has to take on 3, 4 players that are surrounding him at all times. We need him to unlock this Chelsea defense. We need him to be that number 10. I just need Xavi Simons to have a good game here if we stand any chance of winning against Chelsea. We all know that he was linked with Chelsea heavily over the summer, so let's hope he's extra motivated to play because of that reason. At right wing, it is going to be Mohamed Kudus. I don't think that's much of a surprise. Let's hope that he's full of energy for this game because some people have said he's looked a little leggy. Can't blame him. Like he's played almost every minute this season and he's been heavily relied on in terms of the creativity department. Like I said earlier, I think he's receiving a bit of criticism for potentially not having as big of goal output, but I think that's just down to guys like Xavi Simons, the likes of Odebear, Richarlison, Johnson, just they themselves aren't, I think, creating enough chances for him. So then teams have looked at it and they're like, well, if you just stop Kudus, you sort of stop Spurs. So they've been double marking him, triple marking him. Anytime he receives the ball, you see people flood towards his side to try to, take away his ability to cut inside. They show him down the line, but then they know what he can do, down the line where he's going to probably cross it in with the right foot. Like, I think they made it so that it's really hard for someone like him to really express himself. I really like that Thomas Frank has given him in that Everton game that more of a free role. I think that's how you sort of work around maybe that problem where if you kind of tuck him over to the right side, he can get sort of taken out of the game by just being triple marked and double marked, like I said. But if you give him that free role and allow him to sort of play a bit more centrally, it is harder to maybe take him out the game that way. So I'm not sure where Thomas Frank will play him. Maybe he'll just stick him on the right, or maybe he'll do something similar to what he did against Everton. We'll also need Mohamed Kudus to be strong and be physical for this game because it's one of those derbies where people are going to put in harsh challenges. Probably Kukurea, that little twerp is going to be biting at him, scrapping at him, and Mohamed Kudus is definitely going to be on his game for this one. And we need his set piece deliveries. Both him and Pedro Porro we're going to need because they played a big part in the goals that we scored against Everton with some of those set pieces. But last and certainly not least, I'm going for Kolo Muani. I think he's an obvious choice for this game. I think he's shown so much more than Richarlison in recent games. He was also rested against Newcastle, even though he came on. I think his hold up play has been better. I think his runs in behind have been better than Richarlison's. I just think he's just showing so much more than Richarlison. It's just the only shame is that I think in the Everton game, he wasn't really given enough service, I think, to score. I think he did everything else very well. He brought others into play, played some nice flick on, some nice first time passing. I think he's done a very good job since he's now kind of gotten some minutes under his legs. And I think he's a very obvious choice for this game. And I'm pretty sure Thomas Frank will go with him, considering that he did rest him in that Newcastle game. I'll leave it there, though, everybody. Let me know if you disagree with anything I had to say. Let me know if you appreciate this predicted lineup. Smash the like button, please, on your way out. And I'll see you for the game day with Chelsea on Saturday. Come on, you Spurs. Let's hope we pick up one here. It's been a while. Come on.